Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Powerful Stuff, your one-stop shop for inner and outer connection, as I like to say. I'm your host, Meredith Baker, leadership coach, avid yogi. Now that I'm back in Venice, getting the Venice Pilates in, White Lotus watcher, as I've said before, which, wow, if you watch the season finale last night, we have lots to discuss. I won't be talking about it here on Powerful Stuff, but because that would just take hours. But let's chat offline, hit me up. I would love to discuss it with you. All of that's to say, today is like nearing our almost 100th episode. I have to double check, but last time I was looking at Powerful Stuff on Apple Podcasts, it was like 90 something episodes. So guys, we're going to have to do something special together for number 100, especially you loyal listeners and myself, like being on this wild, winding, beautiful journey together across topics, friendships, continents, all of it, inner landscapes, outer landscapes. So today I wanted to talk about something beautiful that happened this weekend and kind of my journey to get there, which was I had an UPRGRADE LA Day Fest. And if you've heard me talk about it on the podcast before, the UPRGRADE is my signature 12-week group coaching program. I've had something like 60, almost 70 women graduate from it, 9 cohorts. I've been doing it for 3.5 years. It's pretty wild to see the transformations that happen within and beyond the 12 weeks, like when you show up, when you commit to yourself. And it's really about identifying self-limiting beliefs. How can you repattern them? We learn to repattern them together in a community that virtually meets every week, and then vision from this place of possibility where we really graduate tapping into the energetics of feminine leadership, of owning our boundaries, communicating from our truth, living from our passion instead of our shoulds. And yeah, it's insane. Women have gone on to found their own companies, to start their own communities, to bring their own offerings to the world, to negotiate higher raises, to make kind of like career pivots and transitions, to start, owning their worth and their value in relationships and sticking up for themselves in their relationships. It's just wild. And so anyways, this Saturday I had a global, or not global, but kind of, because women flew in for it, a LA Fest. At one of my graduates' houses, Alexa. Shout out Alexa, who's also been on this podcast. If you're curious about hearing her experience in the UPRGRADE, we have one from, I think it was around September this last year, where she got on the podcast. And today I wanted to talk to you about the journey that I took to upgrade my life, the tools that I used, and then how I kind of birthed this program. So as you're coming along the journey with me today, maybe you can get insights into what those tools are, if those tools work for you. And of course, if you're like, Meredith, I want to go deeper, let's just dive in, then I would love to have you in this next cohort. We begin late April. And as you guys guessed it, it's powerful stuff. I'm like, do I start with Saturday? Do I start with my stuff? So I'll just give a brief overview of Saturday and then we'll wind it back. But basically Saturday, women flew in from Minneapolis, from San Francisco. We had about 40 women there, many women who have been through the UPRGRADE, some women who haven't. And we started off with the best morning ever Saturday morning. We did a gratitude to manifest best morning ever, where we talked about the things that we were already grateful for in our life, the moments that we've already overcome that were challenging, or the things that we already said we wanted to vision and holy shit, we did it, we got it. And we talked about that with new friends. I like to start my best morning evers, which is like connection, yoga, intention setting, with people getting to connect with each other and share this opening question. So we reflected on all that we were grateful for, all that we've already manifested. We embodied that in the yoga flow, and then we transmitted that into what we want to create next with this like acknowledgement of our power that we already possess. What do we want to create next? And then we kind of shared pings or visions that we had for each other, because we're all more powerful when we rise together and help each other achieve our dreams. And so that was the morning, best morning ever. And then in the afternoon, like I said, on the Venice canals, we hosted a beautiful afternoon experience at my client Alexa's house. And Alexa's amazing. She's CEO of Social Bloom, which is this like boutique social media agency. All of that's to say, Alexa has an incredible design eye. She made these beautiful charcuterie boards and a gluten-free cake. And we had my other client, Michelle, who's an amazing hairstylist, hair ceremonialist. And she had Inner Sense goodie bags for everyone with beautiful like scalp massaging oil and gua shas for a scalp massage. So everyone came in, they started connecting. And you guys will get little tidbits of how I love to do my events. I always love to have like little connection points people can drop into when they first come into an event before like the itinerary or the flow of the event starts, so people can feel comfortable and connected, maybe if they came alone. So, as people were coming, we had like this icebreaker question of like, what are you most excited about right now? So anyone could join any conversation and kind of hop in with that. I also love getting rocks to paint. So I get rocks and acrylic paint markers, and people can write their mantra or a mantra for a friend to give it to a friend. It's nice to put like in your flower pot or like, on your little shrine in your house, or leave it on a hike as a little wink for someone else to see as they're hiking. So I always love to have a little craft station. So we had that, and people just mingled for that first hour. And it was so crazy to see women from different worlds like connect, or women who had referred me other women who joined the upgrade, and like them bringing friends, and like them meeting different women in different cohorts for the first time. And yeah, and then also like one of my clients like knew another client outside of me, and they had known each other like 4 years ago, and like then they had become friend with the other woman's friend like via my wedding, and they got to like connect for the first time, and they had known each other on the East Coast. And so just like fun little synchronicities like this were just flowing, abounding. And we did a little flow, a little connection where my client Michelle led everyone through a scalp massage and scalp meditation, kind of nourishing our roots to grow, which I love the theme of that. And then I dropped everyone into a meditation, kind of like what we talked about here last week on Powerful Stuff, of removing assumptions. Where are we putting blocks on our desires because we believe that something's not possible for us, or if we do this, then we'll have to give up this. So we removed our assumptions, and we wrote out what the yes and would look like to getting that thing that we desire and still being able to flourish in whichever way that we thought maybe wouldn't be possible before. And then, of course, we went into a little masterminding session in groups of 5 or 6, and women got to, in groups of like 3 or 4, and women got to hear the other woman's desires and then keep asking, and then what? And then what? And then what if this happened, in like a positive way to kind of help supercharge or expand her blue skies. And then, of course, they ended with a little action item. And then at the end of the kind of structured portion of the day, if you will, we did something which is my favorite, which is a give and an ask. So what is your give and what is your ask? And it's a great quick way. And I tell everyone, let's make it super rapid fire, literally just one sentence each. But it's a great way to kind of get a read on the whole room and make sure that you don't leave the event without connecting to someone that maybe could help you out, or you could help them out. So it's like, what is your give? What is your give to the group? Maybe it's like, I'm a great sounding board for relationship advice, or if you want to go do Pilates with me, like hit me up. I love going to Pilates. Or maybe they give, some women were like, if you want me to look over your pitch deck, like I do that for my job, I'd be happy to give advice if you're a startup founder. So what is the give? And then what is the ask? As in, what is the thing you're calling in? Like some women are like, I'm single. So if you know any like great guys out there, like let me know. And some women were like, I'm calling in like a little help with this like area of my business that I don't know a lot about. So if someone knows a lot about that, or can put me in touch with an expert in this area. And it was really great to see like the connections happen in real time. And then there was this like great synchronistic moment when one of my clients, who's an incredible postpartum doula, was sharing about that. And she's like, so my give is that if you're an expecting mom, and you want to talk about like the postpartum journey. And right as she said that, like Alexa's neighbor who's pregnant walked by, and it was just like, they were like, we'll connect after. It was just like such a funny synchronistic moment, like literally as she was saying it. So it's one of those things of like, ask and it is given, right? As we put our direct ask or our direct give out there, and we literally vocalize it, even if it's living in our head, right? There's something about saying it out loud that makes it really powerful, and that has it come to us. So like, don't sleep on just like putting your gives and your asks out there. Even if you're ending a hangout with a friend or with a few friends, or a dinner party, of like, how can we support each other this week or this month? What does that look like? And even if you don't have a direct action from that, just by putting it out, it plants the seed and the wheels start turning. And I have so many countless examples of times that like the craziest things have happened just by saying it out loud or putting it out there. So I also forgot to mention at the start of the kind of structured time, I believe like play is power. In our playful state is our powerful state. And we started off the structured time with I numbered everyone off in groups of 5, and they had 10 minutes to create a poem, a visual representation on like a cardboard, a song about what upgrading your life looks like. What does it mean to upgrade your life? Like to expand your belief system, to expand your belief in what's possible. And yeah, so all of that's to say the women did that. We had some iterations of Shake It Off by Taylor Swift, but with an upgrade twist. We had some interpretive dance. We had a haiku. We had a beautiful visual drawing of a snake shedding its skin. And I just love starting experiences with like a playful activity where you're instantly thrown into collaboration with strangers, because collaborating together, it's like co-creating a new experience together, not taking yourself too seriously, and like having that camaraderie of being on a team. So I just think like starting experiences like that is always just such a fuck yes. Anyways, so my heart was so full after that day, seeing like these 40 women who have like either been through the program or friends of people who have been through the program, connecting, lifting each other up, just made me so happy. I'm like still on cloud 9. So I wanted to talk about today how I developed the upgrade program and upgraded my own life, and how you can too. And we'll end with a little meditation as well. So, even if you don't think now is the right time to do the upgrade, like this episode will still be a powerful journey of kind of how I shifted out of different beliefs, how you can too, and some of my favorite tools along the way. And then, yeah, let's just buckle up and let's get to it. We've already dived in. We've already dove in. I'm like dove, tomato. Okay. So the upgrade, where to begin? So I feel like my self-development journey, and I've talked about this before, but it kind of started, in the mindfulness sense, back when I was 23. So we're looking at 12 years ago. Whoa, is that right? 23, 24. Yeah, 12, 11 years ago. It was 2000 and 2013, 2014. Yeah. Well, I had just graduated from Harvard. I'd moved to Los Angeles, started doing hot yoga at Hot 8 Yoga, and was doing like their 30-day challenges. And it was like the first time of like, wow, as I consistently show up for myself, like self-limiting beliefs change of like, oh, I'm not flexible, or I don't have my splits anymore since I was an 8th grade cheerleader. It's like, as I did a 30-day challenge, I got my splits back. And it wasn't overnight, right? But it was that act of consistently showing up every day over time, being with my breath, not having my phone in the room. And I was getting over a breakup, and of this guy that at the time, part of my worst self-talk would be like, oh, but he's like so much more talented than me, and he's so hot, I have so many options, versus like the idea of like, I'm the prize, or like, I deserve to be treated well. And so it was during this Hot 8 Yoga kind of intense 6-month chapter that I started to wake up to that. And then I decided, before I went to grad school in England, to get my yoga teacher training in Costa Rica. And I didn't know it at the time, but it was a shamanic yoga teacher training. So they also talked about like the Peruvian medicine wheel. They did some like plant medicine ceremonies while we were in Costa Rica, and we were staying at a permaculture center called Punta Mona. And so this was kind of deepening in that self-inquiry of mindfulness, of meditation, of checking in with my body, listening to my body's intuition, starting to see things shift on the mat, and then starting to see things shift off the mat. So that was kind of like the first little seed that was planted. And then that seed kept growing when I was in England the next year, not only in my own yoga practice and taking a lot of yoga workshops, but also offering yoga to friends and starting to use my voice in the mindfulness space, and just like practicing and leading free yoga classes wherever I could, like for my fellow grad students, for my friends when I would visit New York City, and just getting a lot of reps in of like creating a container of space for growth, and also finding my voice as a teacher, not, we all go through a process of like regurgitating the things that we've heard our teachers say and stepping into what feels authentic for us. So I did a lot of that year, of just getting a lot of reps. And when people talk to me about, oh, I want to start leading events, or I want to start doing this, what's your advice? I'm like, just start. Don't wait to do the big ticketed event at the like huge warehouse. Have 2 friends over and offer it to them for fun on a Tuesday night. Like, don't overthink it. Just get the reps in, because the more you do it, the more comfortable you feel, the more authentic you feel, the more space you'll leave for their experience, because you won't be focused on how am I doing, how am I showing up, right? Which we all go through as like a new student in something, and that's part of our journey. So that was part of a fundamental part of not only my mindfulness journey, but my journey as a teacher and as a space holder, was going through my yoga teacher training and just like holding experiences wherever I could and like trying things out on friends, asking their feedback after, asking how it felt and putting myself out there. Like that year in England, and I also like tried out to teach at a lot of yoga studios, and I also like didn't make the cut, and it was just like such a funny and humbling experience for me, while I had just graduated Harvard and was at Oxford for my master's, and like was so excited about yoga, and like wouldn't be even like didn't even make the cut to be a substitute teacher on a substitute list at a yoga studio in London. And so it was a good reminder too of like continue to keep growing and don't take no for an answer. Like you can still host your own things even if you don't make the cut of other people for whatever criteria that they have, right? Taking that with a grain of salt, learning from it, and continuing to grow and hold space and show up on your own. And that year as well, I also was like, how can I offer these things to people outside of my current community or my current surroundings? And so I sought out to lead yoga at homeless shelters in London. And I did that for many months. And I also started playing my guitar for music in hospitals in England, where I would go to hospitals and play songs to people who were on their healing journey in the hospitals or in nursing homes. And so all of that's to say that year really awakened this fire in me to have that concurrent attitude of being a student and growing and practicing and getting my reps in and in doing things in community and in learning from others. So after that year in England, I also went to the shamanic yoga teacher training planted a seed in me of exploring my mind in the kind of the plant medicine sense as well, because I had never really done that. I hadn't really gone to therapy. And 1 year after I did my yoga teacher training, because it was mentioned at my yoga teacher training, this thing called ayahuasca, I had never done it before. And it was meant to be this like mystical, profound experience where you kind of tap into the parts of yourself that were hidden or that need to be healed. And I really planted this curiosity in me. I read a few books about it that year. And then the year after I was finished my graduate degree, my MSc, I happened to be in Austin, Texas, and hear this guy talk about that. Or I was, in Austin for a month as I was waiting to get my visa switched out from my student visa in England to my entrepreneur visa, because I was about to go back to England for one more year and live in London and do entrepreneurial things and host my old podcast, On the Map, Off the Radar, which still might be on Apple Podcasts. I'll have to check. It would be so funny to go back and listen to some of my old episodes. Wow. And that was kind of about off the beaten stories in different countries and different places and fascinations. So all of that's to say, I was in Austin and I heard this guy talking about how he was going to Peru to do ayahuasca in the next few weeks. And it was this amazing medicine center. And I was just reading about ayahuasca, and I actually had like 3 more weeks before I was to go back to England. And I also had a little bit of extra money left over from kind of like the money that I had saved up during my time as a student and some grants that I had procured for my podcast. I was like, should I go to Peru and go on this inner journey and do ayahuasca in Iquitos? And I decided, you know what? I think this is the universe telling me yes. I'm in this this is like such a Meredith or such a Venice story in Austin, but I was in a juice bar in Austin, Texas, and hearing this guy talk about it. And I'm like, maybe this is my sign to, book a ticket to Peru for 2 weeks and then I'll go back to England from there. And so long story short, guys, I did go to Peru and I did do ayahuasca and I was there for 2 weeks. And not only was like the plant medicine experience like so incredible and also so like not what I expected in a lot of ways. And so like things that I'm still integrating to this day in some ways, but it was also just like 2 weeks completely immersed in the jungle, really without my phone and just kind of like sitting with myself and who I wanted to be in the next chapter. And the long story short of what I got from that experience was this realization that I didn't love myself fully. Like I'd always been with guys that kind of, I was hoping to please them and I was hoping that they would like me. And I was always overgiving in hopes that they would realize, wow, Meredith's such a catch. I'm going to stay. So it's almost like I was giving giving all of my gifts right out the gate without them being earned, hoping that these guys would be like, wow, she's so amazing, right? Versus like loving myself and not necessarily needing their approval, not necessarily tolerating things when I didn't feel respected. And also I was always afraid to communicate with these guys or use my voice because I was afraid of like rocking the boat or it not being so easy for them and then they would walk away. And I really felt like my self-respect with my previous relationship before I went to Peru was really like worn down with this guy who was a little bit younger than me. And I had a sense he was cheating on me while we were together, but I never directly confronted him because I was too afraid of knowing the truth that I kind of swept it under the rug and pretended it didn't happen. And so the ayahuasca experience was really a journey back to self-love and like, wow, I can't, and like my broken trust with myself, right? Like with my body and my spirit of like, I can't expect like after 24 years at how old I was at the time of having that realization that I would just all of a sudden wake up and fully trust myself again. It's kind of like my spirit was telling my body, like, you have to earn my trust back. You've given your love to so many people who didn't even know that they had it, who didn't like treat it well, and you were choosing them over me. And how am I to trust that you're going to be different this time? How am I to trust that, you're actually going to stick around and prioritize me unconditionally regardless of what other people think? So that was kind of the first peephole into like the deep self-love and mental journey, I would say. And it's funny because it was so profound during the ayahuasca, but as they say, the ceremony begins after the ceremony. And it took me years to still integrate that, like years of having that awareness and then moving it into action, like where I still kind of chose guys and I had more awareness that it was happening, but I wasn't yet fully understanding how to fully break out of the vicious cycle, or I kind of swung the pendulum too far certain ways, or was like overly protective of myself and forced an ultimatum from guys too quickly because I had that awareness. It was like the awareness happened when I was in Peru at 24, and then it kind of took years after that to really integrate it. The next year, I was kind of sitting with that, continuing to deepen my yoga practice. And as you guys have heard me talk about on the podcast before, then the next year was like my Renaissance year where I was teaching yoga a lot in London. I was playing guitar around Europe and booking my own European tour for my music and letting myself express myself creatively, and also kind of starting my Saturn return of like, I have these graduate degrees. I really love yoga and music and mindfulness, but I wasn't sure what would come of everything. And I was in exploration mode of where I would kind of land. And I moved to Los Angeles after my entrepreneur visa ran out, and I decided to go to the founder's journey. And I had never run a business before, never run a consumer packaged good company, let alone alcohol, let alone cold chain alcohol. But I was like, you know what? How hard can it be? And decided to start an alcoholic kombucha company, which I need to make a whole podcast episode on, like my founder's journey in itself and all the takeaways there, because it's a big one. But the big thing that I will say that came out of that was concurrently I was teaching yoga, and concurrently I was doing more like not only plant medicine journeys, but I also during that time got my own executive coach. And I went through like maybe 2 or 3 different coaches, like, because we have different coaches for different chapters. So I had one that was like more spiritual. I had one that was a little bit more business focused. And then I kept getting pings to go to this thing called the Hoffman process. And the Hoffman process I've talked about before, but it's a 1-week retreat. They have them all over the world. The one I went to was in the Bay Area in Petaluma, a 1-week retreat to reparent your inner child. So to look at all of your self-limiting beliefs, where did they come from? How are they still showing up? How are they getting in the way of you living your best and fullest life now? And Hoffman was like a profound time for me where I kind of broke toxic love patterns fully. Like I had the awareness in Peru years before. And then Hoffman was really like, okay, wow, we mapped out our negative cycles of like how me believing I am not enough keeps reinforcing like the guys that I choose, how I show up with them, the kind of confrontations that happen, and then how it kind of like explodes and reinforces this belief of I am not enough. So I started to see how that played out in my dating life. And then I also kind of started to really sit with the awareness with the founder's journey of like why I started the beverage company in the first place. Like part of me loves brand building and community building. But then part of my ego, I think, was like, well, maybe if I'm a founder, that'll kind of like make more sense after my winding Harvard and Oxford journey. And so part of me had difficulty releasing the founder identity, especially after I had raised money and people knew that I was a founder and I had talked about my beverage, for so long. And it's like, I need to get it off the ground. I need it to be successful. And it's like, do I feel like I'm doing this because I should do it because I've like attached myself to this identity or because I actually want to do it? So during Hoffman is when I really started to sit with these questions. And it was around the time of Hoffman too so Hoffman kind of led me to end a situationship that I knew I was kind of I was kind of in that negative feedback loop. And Hoffman also was around the time that I started really honestly looking at what if I shut my beverage company down, and also stepped more into coaching because I had really enjoyed like my conversations with other founders and sharing my mindfulness tools through yoga, through meditation, through just like holding space for friends. And it was my friend during COVID, Ashlyn, shout out Ashlyn, who's also been on this podcast, who really encouraged me to look at what coaching could be like. And so with my experience in the mindfulness world with yoga, meditation, and breath work, having gone to Hoffman, having had my own executive coaches, I started designing my own beta coaching program where I took on a few friends who were going through transitions or just wanted support for free to start like testing different kind of coaching styles out to see like what worked for them, what kind of results that they were getting, to design my own program to launch. And that was also around the time that I started sharing more of my personal transformation journey on Instagram, because before I would usually just post like my MO was to post a yoga photo in like a different travel place with like a punny caption. But then as I stepped into coaching, it's like really sharing my journey of like how I got from point A to point B and the struggles that happened along the way. It wasn't perfect. So Hoffman was a big thing that led to like the tools that I now also use in the upgrade. And many of my clients have also gone on to go to Hoffman after because they've heard me talk about it so much. And also, hold on one second. So all of that's to say, I went to Hoffman. These tools were super, super impactful for me, not only for my own journey in kind of ending cycles in my own life around dating, but also starting to realize that like it was time to potentially shed the founder identity, shed the shoulds of like why I felt like I needed to keep it alive, and step into coaching. Like I said, with my friend Ashlyn, who really encouraged me to lean into that and to use this time of COVID, especially during COVID, a lot of manufacturing things were slow or shut down or uncertain. And so I had a little bit more time to think about what would life potentially look like beyond my founder journey. And actually for the next year, I was taking on beta clients and then on one-on-one clients while I was still running my company. So there was this kind of like transition period of saying, do I like coaching? Do I want to hold on to my company while I was still doing that? And then also around that same time, maybe it was right before Hoffman as well, I did someone else's group coaching program, Victoria Song, who's an incredible coach as well. I'm so, so, so grateful for her. And she wrote the book Bending Reality, which is incredible, about shifting your beliefs to be empowered, inspired, expanding what's possible for yourself. And going through her group coaching program, seeing how she held space, also seeing the power that can happen when we share our vulnerabilities in a group of other inspired women, planted a seed for me. And as I was starting to think about coaching, I was like, oh, it'd be so cool to have this group element. And Victoria also like introduced me to so many great tools and experiences as well. Like she introduced me to the book Pussy, a Reclamation, about kind of claiming our divine feminine power and sexuality and energy. And it's a book that I recommend to all of my clients now as well. So it was kind of all of these things that were like catalyzing around a similar time, doing my soul searching, finding my own executive coaches, regular coaches, therapists, and group coaching program, going to the Hoffman process, that eventually I shut down with the kind of blessing of my advisor / investor, sharing that, she could tell my heart wasn't in the alcoholic kombucha company anymore. And I'm so grateful for her mentorship and for her kind of the permission that she gave me to acknowledge my truth and to shut down the company. All of those kind of catalyzed into me shutting down my beverage company, which was a really painful decision. But as soon as I did it, I felt a wave of relief. And it was crazy because I had so much fear around telling all of my advisors. But the truth is that when I told all of them, they were all like, we just wanted to, we just believed in you. We wanted to see you succeed. And even though it didn't work out, like, we're proud of you. And I don't know why I had feared so much or held on for so much longer to this beverage company out of fear of pleasing other people. But it was such a lesson, and one that I keep with myself and remind my clients that no one cares. Like, no one is going to like be as, I don't want to say no one cares, but like no one is going to be as impacted by our own path or our own choices as us. And most of the time, other people just want to see us win. And having that mentality, or if we're going to assume, we might as well assume the best. Like, having that mentality would have spared me a whole other like year or 2 years of holding on to the beverage company longer than I knew was possible. And then, or longer than I, maybe should have. And then another lesson that I got from the beverage company too was the last year where my heart wasn't kind of in it and I was having these second thoughts, like the other people who were working really hard on my beverage company and who were bought into the dream with me and who were a team with me, I wasn't communicating with them as much because I had this guilt or kind of inner knowing that maybe it wasn't the right thing. But here they were dedicating so much time to it outside of their own regular job and their own family. And so the feedback that I got from my operations guy when I told him that I was shutting it down and expressing my gratitude for him and for all that he's done for the company, I was like, "Do you have any feedback for me?" And he's like, "Yeah, as Brene Brown would say in the book, Dare to Lead, about empathetic leadership, clear is kind. And if you were having doubts earlier this year because we are a team, because I was dedicating so much time to it, it would have felt really good to know where your head was at. So then I could have decided accordingly if it's something that I still want to continue investing time into." And that always really stuck with me because he was absolutely right. Sometimes when we're feeling paralyzed by choice or we're not sure what happens, we can cower, we can hide, we can not show up in integrity, versus being like, here's where my head's at. And then you put the ball in their court to make an empowered choice if they want to stick around, whether that is, you both are working on a startup, or whether that's also like in a relationship, being like, I don't know if I can commit. You can decide if you want to stay in this kind of situation with me, or if you're looking for commitment right now, then like now you kind of have all the cards on the table. So those were my takeaways from the beverage company. And then something else that was crazy that happened from that. Guys, I'm just like, we're chatting up a storm today. It's fucking crazy. And then we'll get to like how all of this kind of converges into the upgrade. So that happened. And that same week, I met my husband, Spencer, because I was like shutting down my company. I was talking to all my advisors. I'm like, maybe I should just go on a date. I felt like I was kind of very in my masculine doing all of this, shutting down all of this, winding down of the company, that I went on Hinge and I saw this Canadian guy who had also done an Ironman. We started chatting and I almost didn't go on the date when I learned he didn't live in LA, but I thought like, fuck it, even better, because I won't put expectations on where it could go or if he's husband material, because I'll like literally never see him again. And we all know how that ended. He's my husband. We're living together. Shout out Spencer. He's been in a few episodes. He's going to be in some more soon. Watch this space. And so all of that's to say, yeah, that was just a great reminder of like, when we shut down what's not meant for us, what is meant for us has energy to come through, whether it's in that same area or in a different area of life. So that was really powerful. And also when I decided to go full time into coaching and really, really like push that home, I also had to overcome this fear of, who will my Harvard friends think I am to be coaching, right? I have a failed startup. What will they think? They'll be like, who is Meredith to coach people when like she can't even run a startup? So that was kind of like my imposter syndrome speaking and making these excuses for me to stay small. And I also feel like that was a rite of passage to overcome my imposter syndrome. And I always like to say our shame is our superpower. And when we own and we must own our story instead of it owning us. So I actually turned that little voice into my head into like the opening hook of my caption in my newsletter announcing my coaching of like, who is Meredith to coach? She has a failed startup, and kind of went on my journey of like actually how it's like really courageous when we, face that fear and take the leap, even amidst uncertainty or amidst the fear of what other people will think. And of course, the ironic and beautiful thing about that is when I owned that story, some of my very Harvard classmates who I deeply admire wanted to work with me because they're like, I admire how you take the road less traveled and how you kind of create freely. And I want that freedom for myself. And so it's a great reminder of like, yeah, when we own our story, we become magnetic and we are able to then walk the walk of the thing that we want to bring to the world. So I feel like those were my personal journeys that I needed to overcome as I was like collecting my own tools and wisdoms to put together the upgrade to take other women through, right? It was like my own journey of mindfulness, my own long passage of identifying self-limiting beliefs and patterns, and then being in awareness around them, and then finally learning to break them. And then with the beverage company, overcoming imposter syndrome, first by starting the beverage company, right? Or because I never had experience as a founder, and then overcoming imposter syndrome by shutting it down and owning my path as a leadership coach. And that same few months after I launched, or after I shut down my beverage company and went full time into coaching, I'd been coaching for a year then. Like I said, there was a year of overlap. I also took this course, which again, my friend Ashlyn kind of put me onto this woman from Rachel Bell, called Online Coaching Academy, which helps coaches like refine their voice, their unique package and offering, and help you structure your course. Like, what are the back end things that you need to know to structure your course, to design your offering, to communicate your offering, like how to find your people, who do you actually want to serve, what is the transformation you can actually provide, and how do you communicate that? So I took the Online Coaching Academy course, which was a 12-week course. By the end of it, I had birthed the upgrade, which was at the time called Balanced Leader Blueprint. And also, I want to backtrack and say, like, a few of the other core tools and books that I love that really influenced me shaping the upgrade was Existential Kink by Carolyn Elliott, which I like always mention on the Powerful Stuff podcast, which is about looking at our shadows, owning our shadow, and learning to love parts of us that, act out or self-sabotage. Because if we have shame around it, it comes out in perverse ways, versus when we own it, kind of like owning my story, or my initial insecurity about being a coach after shutting down my startup. That way our shadows don't own us. We bring our shadows to the light. So Existential Kink was a huge book that influenced the upgrade. A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson, kind of like the idea of assuming best intent. And when we return to love instead of fear, miracles become an everyday occurrence. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz was also a great influence for me in the upgrade, and kind of like the idea of don't make assumptions and always give our best. And what were the other books? Those are some of the main ones. And I literally read Return to Love like every 6 months. And same with Four Agreements. I read that every year. And Existential Kink, those are like my annual return tos. My executive coach Victoria's book, Bending Reality, was also hugely influential in the upgrade. And also the work of Lacey Phillips. Lacey Phillips has the To Be Magnetic methodology around kind of seeing which beliefs that we have, how are they getting in the way, or how are they serving our desires, and then repatterning and rewiring our brains to help us step into our highest path, our path of most fun, our path of highest enjoyment. So anyways, I wanted to shout out some tools that were very powerful and influential in the upgrade. Oh, also the work of Byron Katie. Byron Katie has a book called Loving What Is, and she has a powerful worksheet called The Work, where you basically look at a thought that you have and you're like, is it true? Do I know it's true? What happens when I believe this thought? Or if we're like triggered by somebody else, she'll have us, write out all that we're like so angry about them, how we think about that person, what they should or shouldn't do. And then at the very end, like the last step is to turn that thought on its head and replace their name with yours, and see how it's all like kind of an inner projection of like, if you're like, I want so-and-so to give me more credit, you replace it and you're like, I want me to give me more credit, because if I was so angry at them and needing them to give me credit, then I'm not giving me credit. So that's also such a powerful tool that I love. And it's always mind blowing for me and for clients when they see it, of like how we can actually give ourselves the things that we crave from other people. So all of that's to say, those are some of the tools. Then I founded the upgrade, which, like I said, was called Balanced Leader Blueprint, after I took Rachel Bell's Online Coaching Academy. And I launched it and got 8 women in my first cohort. And ever since that cohort, after kind of taking myself through this longer journey of identifying my own self-limiting beliefs, breaking them, repatterning them, designing my own life from this place of purpose, I've been able to help other women do the same. Like I said, they've gone on to overcome imposter syndrome, to found their own companies, to start their own movements or communities. Some women that I've coached have become coaches themselves. Many women have, kind of created their own extra extracurricular thing that's turned into its own movement. But most importantly, they all kind of live from a place of self-trust. And even if anxiety or fear or self-doubt comes up, they now have the tools to question it and to not just take it as fact and to say, okay, where is this coming from? What do I need right now? So basically, it's like a everlasting connection with their inner child and their highest self. And in my group coaching program, we'll use these tools that I've discussed. We'll always have some element of subconscious journaling. We'll always have some element of meditation or breath work or movement, some sort of somatic expression. And most importantly, we have this sisterhood and accountability component, this idea that as you rise, I rise, and we help each other at our lowest and we see each other at our highest. And like I said at the top of the podcast, now I'm going into my 10th upgrade cohort, which is so crazy and insane and exciting. And it was, having to walk this fire and go through this journey myself that it all came together to be what is now called the upgrade. And it's crazy because it's created this just web of ripple effects of like women who've been through the program, who have read the books, who've done the work, and now like they've recommended friends and then their friends have recommended friends. And so it's created this beautiful web, and each upgrade gets deeper and deeper. Like since that first upgrade, I've since recorded special meditations for every single module of the 12 weeks that women can go in their client portal and do as a complement to the upgrade. There's a PDF, a deck for each week, so you can read up on what we're talking about that week to get context before. And the PDF also has extra journaling questions. And I've created a whole online Notion portal for each client that they get for life, that they can go back to different weeks, like money, pleasure, and power, or boundaries and communication, or tactical manifestation when they want a tune-up in the upgrade. So, and then since launching the upgrade too, I think 2 years after I launched it, I started the upgrade mastermind, which is for women who want to continue the journey, but on a like more spacious cadence. So we'll meet once a month, we'll review an upgrade tool, and then we'll focus on each woman's personal or professional desire or thing that they're working on. We'll all chime in to help them supercharge it. And then I have a one-on-one with each woman in the mastermind once a month to help supplement, hold accountable, and ideate with them to make sure that that goal is being hit. And we do that in 6-month chunks. And we're currently in the last month of this current upgrade mastermind, which is so exciting. And it's so cool to see the women who are in this one. A big theme has been stepping into their pleasure, leading from their pleasure, and believing that they can create, financial abundance, professional abundance from pleasure, and also stepping into main character energy, really allowing themselves to be seen and designing their life and using their voice from this place of like really owning their platform. So all of that's to say, that's been the journey of the upgrade. And what you might realize, like if the upgrade is for you, is you might be like having this feeling of like you're ready for something big, but you don't know what, or maybe you're aware of patterns, but you're not sure how to get out of them and they keep happening. And you're like, I know I'm ready for a shift, but I just like don't know how to get out of this awareness hell. Or maybe you like have an idea for something that you're meant for, but you're like, why do I feel blocked? Why do I keep procrastinating this? Why does it like not feel clear in my head? These are all signs that you're ready to upgrade, you're ready to grow. And I like to say, the greater the resistance, the greater the awakening. The more we have like resistance to change, it actually means that change is coming. And it's just our inner child who maybe feels scared, right, of the unfamiliar or unknown, that's trying to make these excuses to why now isn't the perfect time, why we shouldn't grow or change, because they know that once we evolve, it'll be a bigger platform, we'll be more seen, right? Which can be scary for our younger self. So all of that's to say, it's to reassure them, to let them know you're not going anywhere. And we're going to take the leap anyways, because it's going to be more uncomfortable to kind of stay in this smaller shell than it is going to be to step out of the shell, be naked for a moment, right? Feel that vulnerability of growth, but then step into this expansion and freedom on the other side. Wow. So that is the journey of the upgrade. I would love to have you in the next cohort. And even if it's not the right time now, I'm excited to see and hear from you what you are upgrading in your belief system. And hopefully some of these resources and stories sparked something in you. And we'll just go ahead and do a brief meditation on when you're ready to upgrade. Closing your eyes, taking a deep breath in. Open mouth, exhale, sigh it out. Another deep breath in. Exhale, let it go. And third and deepest breath in. And exhale, release. And as you take nice, slow breaths, turning your gaze completely inward, just noticing where you feel like there's some tension in your life. Maybe you feel like you're ready to grow, but you're not sure how, or you feel scared. Maybe there's something you feel unhappy with because it keeps repeating and you're not sure how to get out of it. Or maybe you feel excited and ready to grow, but you just want or wished that you had a little bit more structure or accountability or support, or just didn't feel so lonely. Just noticing where that is in your body. Starting to bring your breath to this place of tension, almost like you're asking this tension as if it's a person, like, where is it coming from? What is it resistant to, or what is it afraid of? And as you breathe deeply into it, letting it answer as you continue to expand. As you let it answer, letting it know that that makes sense, that does feel scary or frustrating. And what would it take to do it anyways? What reassurance would this part of you need, or just reminder of your strength? What would it take to be able to do it anyways, to commit? As you answer that for yourself, making an internal commitment right now that you will do that, even if it's scary, even if the outcome is unexpected, knowing that regardless of what happens, growth is on the other side. And as you make that internal commitment, feeling a shift and an expansive awakening in that part of your body, almost like it's a lotus flower blooming, spreading light and possibility to every part of your body, allowing you to lift your crown of your head, allowing a smile to come to your lips. And just getting a vision and embodied feeling of the you who already knew that this change was happening. The you on the other side of this change or upgrade. How are they showing up? How are they moving throughout their day, knowing that the shift is already possible? What are they giving themselves permission to do? And how is that letting them be even more fully expressed? How is that energizing you right now, where the fear starts to switch into excitement with this commitment of knowing there's no other way but up? You're going, you're doing it, it's happening. And asking yourself internally, letting your whole body, your whole spirit answer, what is the thing that you can do today to commit to this growth? As soon as this meditation ends, what's the power of now, the action that you can take that cultivates this energy right now? Trusting it, thanking your body, thanking your intuition for this wisdom, and also getting a ping to help someone else who you know wants to upgrade in their life. What's one thing that you can do for a friend, a family member, someone you know who might want to upgrade, whether it's a positive encouragement, a text, introducing them to someone? Because we supercharge our upgrade when we help others, and that's what we're all about in the upgrade. So what's one ping that you have for someone else in your life who you know they want to upgrade to? Thanking them, trusting that you're going to take this action for yourself and this other action for this other person. Take a deep breath in and exhale out, lifting your heart as you exhale, breathing into this cellular upgrade, breathing in one more time. And exhale, opening your eyes, coming back into this space. Wow, we just upgraded together. And thank you for being here with me today, for listening to my upgrade journey, the journey about the upgrade. I'm excited to hear what your upgrade journey has in store, whether it's the literal upgrade with me or your own personal upgrade journey on your way. And I'm excited to see how you pay it forward by helping someone in your life who you know want to upgrade. And just as a little treat, guys, because I'm just feeling like so inspired today, so inspired by all the magic from Saturday, as I offered to everyone on Saturday who attended to get a $300 discount to put toward their investment in my upgrade group coaching program. So if you're listening to this and you want to do the upgrade group coaching program, this is your sign. I'm going to honor that for you as well. It's Monday, April 7th. So if you reach out to me and commit and take this decisive action by April 11th, I will honor that for you as well. So I would love to give that to you. I'd love to see you in the container. And regardless, I am so excited to talk with you more next week. We have so much to catch up on. It's not even funny. I'm also going to be dropping a relationship one soon with Spencer. So stay tuned, and I will see you soon for more powerful stuff.